I recently found out that the full 50 Shades of Grey series by E.L. James was also done through Christian's perspective. My curiosity has gotten the best of me, and now here I am going through the entire trilogy again. Book 1, Grey, I gave 2 out of 5. I'll start with a brief recap of the first book, assuming that you don't already have a vague knowledge of one of the best-selling books of all time. Christian Grey is a ridiculously rich businessman who likes dominant and submissive relationships. Anna is a virgin who's about to graduate from college. Her friend is supposed to interview Christian for the school paper but gets sick, so Anna does the interview instead. Christian becomes infatuated and is highly motivated to get her to be one of his submissives. I have a weird fascination to this series. I'm not a sexual person, so I cringe a lot while reading and fast forward through the sex scenes during the movies. I do like the idea of a contract for relationships. Even without them being legally binding, it is nice to have your limits in writing. Mine would more likely include who's expected to take the trash out or the proper direction to put the toilet paper roll on, but sex limits work too. It is important to note that consensual abuse is still abuse. Often partners will agree to do things that they don't want to do just to please their partner, which is the case here. Also, Christian has a lot of trauma from his past that he works through with his BDSM lifestyle. I know we aren't supposed to kink shame people these days, but I never agreed to do that. Christian knew Anna was a virgin, and he still rectified the situation, knowing that she wants love and he's not willing to give her that. Also knowing that he'd be punishing her, which is going to cause her severe trauma like what he's been through. And then the cycle will continue over and over and over again. I don't care if she agrees, it's still abuse, and it even ends with her admitting that that's what it felt like to her, and that she only did it for him, which is very common. These days, people are so crazed to be accepting of everything, but everything needs a middle ground. If someone prostitutes, yes, you shouldn't shame them for it, but these days, it's considered rude and judgmental not to be willing to date a sex worker. That's just too much. There needs to be a middle ground. Like in this situation, we can accept that Christian wants Anna to be tied up sometimes if she consents to it, but we don't need to accept that he literally wants to beat her if she misbehaves. He needs to work on that trauma in a way that doesn't affect other people. We shouldn't be so accepting of kinks that hurt other people. He needs to just be boxing or something so he can go in a ring and work out his issues with other people who are working out their issues and not take it out on a tiny woman who's so desperate to have you love her that she'll agree and then cry about it later. Convincing someone to give you their consent takes away from the initial consent. It's not cool, just don't do it. Moving on from that rant, it's taken a while to realize how much of a bad partner Anna is too. I always had the thought of, he only wants sex, so you need to stop demanding more from him. You both need to respect each other's boundaries. But now, I'm realizing that she's leaving him on red for days, which silence has been proven to cause as much pain in the brain as losing a limb and is considered mental abuse. In ghosting him, she had said she was too busy with the move, but then it slips that she went to the bar with a guy who tried forcing a kiss on her recently, so she's keeping secrets, and then she just books a trip without talking to Christian about it. She shouldn't have to ask him for permission, but it's respectful to communicate your plans with your partner. I don't know, man. They're both pretty bad partners, and they're trying so hard to get the star block to go in the circle hole, and they're gonna break the toy. Here are a few quotes that I wanted to share. Her huge cock-tightening grin. My cock concurs. Her sharp intake of breath is music to my dick. Her words travel directly to my dick. Okay, rant 2. Book 2. Darker. I gave 2.5 out of 5. The first one ends with them breaking up. This one starts with Christian asking to take her back, and she agrees as long as he doesn't punish her. She gets a new job at a publishing company, and Christian buys the company and becomes her boss's boss's boss, which upsets her. The guy she's assistant to assaults her, and Christian has him fired, and Anna gets his position in the company. Christian's former submissive, Layla, is stalking them. She's watching them and asks Anna why Master lets her sleep in his bed. She ends up hiding in Anna's apartment with a gun, but Christian subdues her. Later, Christian is flying his helicopter and has to do a crash landing because the engines burst, and it ends with him and Anna getting engaged and him buying them a house. This series frustrates me so much. I have so many complaints here. Anna is so damn annoying. She knows Christian likes things a certain way, and I understand asking if they can still be together without the punishment, but she literally says no to everything that he wants and everything that matters to him. He wants her on a specific schedule and to give him a heads up on her plans and many other things. And if that isn't what she also wants to do, she shouldn't be with him. Neither of what they want is wrong. They just need to do it with people who also want the same things. If your needs don't match up with the other person's needs, don't try to change them. It's not fair. It's not fair to anyone. It's not going to work. You'll make them feel like what they want doesn't matter and like it's wrong. The aspect of what he wants isn't wrong at all. He wants notice of her plans and she doesn't want to give notice. Neither of those things are wrong, but they're definitely wrong when you put them together. They are so incompatible on so many levels. In the first book, Jose is drunk at the bar with Anna, who's also drunk, and tries to kiss her as she's trying to say no and pulling away. And he keeps trying. In this one, Anna tells Christian, Jose is coming up and he's either staying here or he's staying at my apartment and I'm staying there with him. There's so many things wrong with that. She complains that Christian is bossy, but she's also so demanding. She needs to communicate with Christian instead of stating things as a threat. Plus, Jose just tried assaulting her and Christian saw it. That was only like a month ago, and she's telling Christian that he needs to accept that he's her friend and let him stay at her home. And really, Christian is a billionaire. He could book Jose a suite right down the street from his apartment if it came down to that. Girl, you're gonna get raped. You're so stupid. Why are you insisting on being with this guy who just tried to assault you? She also knows her new boss has a sexual harassment history and won't let Christian fire him or her new security go into work with her until after he assaults her. She was whining that she doesn't need protection, but clearly she does. And then she cries about it after. I'm not blaming her at all. It's 100% not her fault. But Christian kept trying to help her, and her pride got in her own way. And her constantly insisting on paying for things. I understand not wanting him to give her money, but let him pay for dinner. You already tell him no on a million other things, some rightfully so, but give him something if you're gonna stay and make him do what you want. She's so difficult for no reason. She doesn't want to take his money because it'll make her feel cheap, but nothing's cheaper than free, and you have a lot of school debt to pay off, just saying. Also, Layla is on the loose and is known to have a gun. Anna still insists on going to work, and sometimes your safety is a little bit more important than that. When Christian proposes, she buys a keychain with her answer on it, and instead of just answering him, she makes him writhe in anxiety for days before opening the keychain and getting an answer, and that's just cruel. Oh, and another thing, Christian keeps telling Anna that her emails aren't private at work and that she needs to text him instead, but she keeps emailing him anyway, and then she gets sort of blackmailed with them. She pisses me off so much. But let's move on to Christian. He took Anna to look at the one house and immediately just bought it. If she's going to live there too and it's also going to be hers, let her pick out the house with you. Communicate, you guys, please. He keeps protecting and defending Elena. I know it's very common with abuse, but usually 15 or 20 years later, especially after years of therapy, people start to realize it was abuse. He was 15, he couldn't consent. He was manipulated, groomed, and abused no matter how you look at it. Even if he enjoyed the sex. A lot of 15-year-old girls get excited to hook up with their favorite band members, but guess what? It's still abuse. A child is in no place to consent to something like that, especially with an adult. Elena is constantly pestering him the entire book, and he explains that she won't leave him alone, but he never asked her to. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. You have to put on your big boy pants and speak up and formally ask someone to leave you alone. Nobody does that anymore, and they just complain that people won't leave them alone. You're the one who's in the wrong. Just ask them to leave you alone, and then if they don't, then you can complain. But even then, just block them. But oh no, blocking is so taboo these days. People are just so dumb. The block function is there for a reason. But anyway, later she confronts Anna at his birthday party, and there's a big blowout, and instead of just taking the business they share and firing her or making her buy him out, he gifts her the entire company and says he owes her that much. Boy, you don't owe her shit. She abused you. Take the company, she's a monster. And Christian is so hypocritical, not wanting to let her go while not liking Jose. Both of these two need to be wiped from their lives. Oh, and a smaller thing, Christian's sister asks for Anna's number, and he just gives it to her without asking Anna if it's okay. Communicate with each other. God, say it with me. Communicate. I want to briefly complain about Kate as well. She was so judgy of Christian buying Anna gifts and then moving so fast with him. But she literally fucked his brother, who is known for his promiscuity, the night she met him. Then she finds the contract and gets so mad at Christian. But honestly, a relationship contract setting boundaries is a really smart move. I don't know why she's always so judgy. She just annoys me. The actress who plays her in the movies is in a few Hallmark movies, and every time I see her, I get so annoyed just because of her character in this series. Okay, one more thing about Christian. When Anna walks into her apartment with Layla and a gun, after Christian comes in, he tells Anna to leave her own apartment, and then he undresses and bathes Layla in Anna's apartment. Fuck no. You're not gonna kick me out of my own apartment with your ex-sex toy so you can fucking bathe her in my home. That's so disrespectful. Like, you can just take her somewhere and tell her to take a bath. His logic makes no sense, and his dom side just really took over and made him an asshole. Everyone in this series is so disrespectful. I hate it so much, but I seem to not be able to look away. In reading this, I've noticed the author's love for the phrase, enlighten me, and it started to bother me too. I was getting so irate reading this. It feels like it's said in every chapter. She also got a little carried away with the kinky fuckery line. Like, we get it. Okay, the first time, maybe it was kind of funny. I don't even remember ever finding it funny, but you don't need to repeat it over and over and over. I started tuning out the sex scenes, so I don't have many quotes on this one, but one line that stood out to me was, my libido lights up like a solar flare. Book 3, Freed. I gave 1 out of 5. I hated this so much. I think I was over it after the second one. I was mad at every character in the series, but I powered through. The trilogy from Anna's perspective is so bad that it's funny, but I can enjoy it. Same with the movies apart from the god-awful soundtrack. But this? I am so glad that I'm through with these. E.L. James, please do not make another trilogy from the perspective of Anna's vagina. I probably would read it, and I really don't want to, but I am very curious how it felt losing its virginity and then immediately just having constant sex, as if it wouldn't be painful as hell. But anyway, this was the longest and most painful to get through. That's what she said. I feel like it was a pretty common opinion that Christian is a horrible partner, but oh my, Anna is fucking terrible. She's so damn annoying, and I listened to the audiobook, so hearing her be so damn annoying in the voice of a grown man made it even worse. Unpopular opinion here, but I don't really believe in the concept of a healthy relationship. Not like in the sense that certain acts are healthy and certain aren't. What's healthy for one person isn't healthy for another. There's nothing on this planet that is 100% healthy for every human out there. It's impossible, and we really need to shake that belief when it comes to mental health and relationships. Anna wanting to be disobedient, fickle, and annoying isn't unhealthy. Christian wanting a submissive to spank, control, and monitor isn't unhealthy either. What's unhealthy is both of them trying to force each other to be who they aren't. There are plenty of people who would love that Anna only cares about herself and her feelings. There are plenty of people who would love to be Christian's living sex doll. If they were doing all the bullshit that they do with people that they are compatible with, then it would be healthy. Anna clearly needs a lot of space, and Christian needs the opposite. Neither of those things are wrong, and it's wrong to try to force someone to sacrifice their needs for yours. Just be with someone who fits your puzzle piece. It's not that hard. They're both fucking terrible together, and my eyes roll to Jupiter this entire book. Anna keeps whining and complaining that she wants to work even when someone is literally out there trying to kill her. Also, while someone is hunting her, she promises that she won't go out for drinks with Kate and will have her come over instead, where they can be safe. But then she changes her mind and gets mad at Christian for being upset about it. God forbid your husband want you to keep your word and maybe not fucking die. She is such a brat. She's constantly telling Christian no to everything, but she agreed to all of this. He formally laid out 100 or so things that he needs in a relationship, and she negotiated it down to basically half, and now she's refusing to even do that half that she agreed on, and says he's being unreasonable. No, Anna, you're being unreasonable. You're a mean girl. You're a bitch. He put himself out there in a vulnerable position and told you exactly what he needs. You worked towards a compromise with him, and he settled for that. If he was complaining for things outside of that, then sure, rebel a little, but he already gave up half of his needs to be with you, and you're disrespecting him and trying to talk away the half that you agreed to, while also gaslighting him and telling him that he's being unreasonable. I hate people like this so much, and it just makes me so mad. And I swear everyone is like this these days. So this book is like so triggering. You're a self-centered bitch and you're tacky and I hate you. She also just forgets to do her birth control that Christian has nicely completely set up for her to just show up and do it, and then she gets knocked up because of her own stupidity, and he gets upset because he's shocked about it, and she tells him that he can't be? What? He did everything right there. I would be shocked too. What he did afterwards is fucked up 100%, but his initial anger and confusion upon hearing the news up until the point where he leaves the apartment is completely warranted. He tried to set her up and help her and just have that not be a worry, and then she just fucked it all up. She just begged and convinced him to love her, which isn't his thing, and now after only a few months, she's basically forcing him to share her when he's clearly not ready yet, which is clearly obvious if you've ever met him, and I'm starting to wonder if she ever had. And it was also implied that he wasn't ready when he set up the birth control that you agreed to. I don't even remember her putting up an issue with the birth control. Maybe she did, and I'm not remembering. Plus, his main love language seems to be giving gifts, and she is always a bitch about it and says, no, 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 no. Girl, you already refused almost all of his sexual kinks. You're pressuring him to do the romance when he said no, and you won't even let him buy you stuff. Give him something if you're going to be with him and make him do everything that you need. She decided she wanted him for whatever reason, but won't let him be himself. And it just sickens me. Like, she never wanted him, she wanted the idea of him. But then right after they get married, she suddenly just doesn't mind gifts as much. So, was it all a show just to get married and then you could stop pretending that you weren't just in it for the money? I don't get it. I could go on for hours, but let's move on to Christian. Layla keeps emailing him, asking him to see her in person to thank him. Now, I get not wanting to see her in person, but instead of telling her himself, he keeps telling his therapist to tell her, and whenever she emails him, again, he's all, why is she still doing this? Maybe because you're not telling her to stop? Hearing your words through someone else isn't gonna be enough closure for her. Like, just give her some closure. You need to use your big boy voice and tell her no yourself. He also has this incessant need to defend the abuse that he endured from Elena. At the end of this, he finally has a small revelation on it, but he still says that he needed it, while also saying that he now sees that it's wrong. Baby steps, I guess. His hypocrisy also drove me insane. He'd go skydiving and then freak out that Anna went jet skiing. He'd get shit-faced but get upset if Anna did. I understand wanting your partner to be safe and then having an agreement not to do certain things, and especially when you're not around, but not when you're doing those things yourself. Same with him constantly being up any guy's ass that looks at her, yet every female in his life is trying to fuck him. All of his employees are supposed to be young, attractive women, and he's worried about Anna? Alright. Now I have some complaints for both of them. They do not seem to discuss anything before getting married. He says he wanted to show her the world for years before having a child, and then only having one, if even that. Maybe if she had known, she would have been more on top of her birth control. But I really doubt that, considering how selfish she's proven herself to be. But maybe. Also, I don't know why he'd think that she would do that. She's always refusing to miss work, even when she should. She wouldn't just take time to travel the world with him. She's talking about having lots of kids, which should have been discussed before getting married. Before I even kiss someone or go on a date, I'm gonna find out their feelings on kids. But these two are like, why don't we just get married and fight about all that later? I don't know, man. This last one of the series was exhausting to get through. I was so angry with this one that I only saved one quote, so I'll leave you with that. She curls her toes around my more than interested dick. Does anyone actually find this attractive? Is this actually a turn-on? The original series was sold in sex stores, so I feel like it must be erotic to some people, but I'm so confused. I'm so disturbed, and I'm so glad that I'm finally finished with these. Still way better than the You series, though. If you've also read these, I'd love to hear your own rants on them.